Are you concerned about the challenges of moving in with your partner? In this episode, we speak to Byron and Margaret Mckie, who've been married for 27 years. They speak about their hardest challenge in the marital journey and the lessons they learned from moving in together after marriage. What was the hardest challenge you guys had to face?
Family. I know for me, because I come from a pretty large family. I'm the youngest of 10 children. My father had 2 children from a previous marriage. I'm the only one that my mother had,
Your
my mother and father had together, and my mother had everyone else. So we were technically, half siblings, but growing up, we never considered each other like step or half. It was my brother, my sister, and still to this day. But it was a struggle for me coming from a big family and to learn that, she came first. And so that was the biggest adjustment for me,
For me, we had been friends, and all of a sudden in 97 we started to date in January of 97, and by December of 97 we got married on the 13th, had our son on the 20th, and so we went in over a year from being single and carefree to being spouse and parent.
Yes.
By the way, if you want the tools that will help you recover from conflicts due to communication issues in your marriage, I've created a free guide to help you with exactly that. You can grab it using the link below.
And unlike him, I grew up as an only child. I had half siblings outside of the home, but I was the only one that my parents had together. And so I wasn't used to sharing. I wasn't used to those things. And that adjustment of being considerate of another person and having to work with someone was an adjustment for me. And over time, realizing some of the things that I brought from my childhood and from my past into our marriage and how that was affecting us. So just my individual growth for me has been the hardest part, and navigating that while still, being a parent, being a wife.
Yeah, it's really tricky. When I got married, prior to that, I was living completely by myself. And so you have a sense of control over the place or in different aspects of your life.
Yes.
And suddenly you have to learn to be a team. And it's such a different journey suddenly. You have to truly work with someone else and appreciate the nuances they bring into marriage.
Yes.
How
Definitely.
did you guys make that work? What were the subtle adjustments that you had to make to flourish together?
Well, the adjustment was really, I think it was easier because we had such a long friendship and we kind of knew each other. But at the same time, we were learning each other. So, when the toe would get stepped on, there would be some stepping on and walking off. But then, it would
I had to go back and apologize.
It would be immediately followed with some type of apology. But then,
I'm
a
sorry.
short
I
amount of time.
shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. Like, hey, that really hurt.
So, like I said, in 97, we were dating. We were friends. I found out we were pregnant, and we moved in together. And as young and immature as we were, by the time we had our son and got married, he was 22, I was 23.
Yeah.
But we had one of the most mature conversations. We sat down and we said, look, what are we going to do? Are we going to get married and raise this child as husband and wife? Or are we just going to be friends and co-parent? Either way, I knew that he was going to be a good father. I knew that he was going to still be my friend and that we would be in each other's lives. Once we had that conversation and decided, okay, we're going to get married, then it became about staying married. And it became about, like he said, he's the nice one. And my mouth was I would say some things. And so I had to learn that my wants, my needs, my desires had to come secondary to our marriage and what that relationship needed. So, and then he had to learn that as well, because youth and lack of maturity. And so once we decided that we're going to be married, we're going to be a family, we're going to be together, that becomes our focus. And so if there's something that I as the individual want, but it's not for the good of that marriage, then I need to put on my big girl pants and not do it or not have it. And so that's been our focus.
Yeah.
And it still is to this day. Individually, I think I could have a lot of things that I want. I didn't have to consider him and those pesky kids, but we still, it's about us. We function as a unit.
Yeah.
And as our kids got older, I remember telling our kids, you know, you need to pick up, you need to do this, you need to do your chores, and they would get upset, and we'd tell them everything in this house produces.
Yep.
And so the whole thing was, in our home we function as a team, and that helped me grow up a little bit.
Yeah, and also, being the youngest of 10, I had to learn to share a lot. And also, the ups and downs of relationships I learned from watching my siblings, my older siblings, in their relationships. I learned what I didn't want. I learned what I wanted in a relationship. So anything that she threw at me, I just learned to give her grace and about these things. And she also gave me grace for mistakes that I made. So it was just about, we grew together and we learned a lot in a short amount of time about, how to deal with those nuances.
And what I heard, something that really resonated with me, is learning to understand that what serves the relationship may not be something that serves you. If you want to recover from marital conflicts even faster, click the link below to access the free guide I mentioned earlier.